From there, you then undertook more studies, went to more workshops.
Yes.
When did you start to actually do your own Tantra business, so to speak?
A year and a half ago. So from the time that I started the work with Nitiyama, yeah, I was training with him over the phone a lot because he's based in America, and then I started offering workshops for women and also individual sessions for men, women and couples.
Okay. Obviously I want to discuss what happens in workshops. I know we've heard a lot of information out there about Tantra workshops, so I'm not too sure if this show is actually going to have to be parent guidance. We'll see. Before we go down that area though, I'm assuming from the passion that, you know, when I've spoken to you before, that this for you is part of your pathway.
Yes.
And often with, you know, when we decide what our pathway is in life, we often, when we reflect back to childhood, can see that there's been some aspects of our childhood that have created the wounding or whatever it is that takes us into our work as an adult. In reflection, can you see that there's any area of your childhood that led you towards Tantra?
One of the key things that has happened for me is recognising how shut down I became sexually at quite a young age. So throughout my 20s I had difficulty connecting with men and forming lasting experiences with men. It would mostly be brief encounters. And I can trace that pretty much back to around the time I was 7 years old. And at that point, when I first started to feel sexual energy in my body, a part of me shut down because I didn't know what it was. I was embarrassed, a little scared, and from that point of becoming scared and embarrassed about whatever this energy was inside of me, I shut down and started to feel awkward in my body. So it meant that I would find it difficult to look people in the eye or to be real because I was scared that they might see something inside of me that I wasn't even sure what it was.
And yet this is very natural for a young girl at that age, as it is for a young boy at that age, to start feeling their sexual energy, except in our society, we don't allow them to understand this is a natural process and then, you know, what to do with it, so to speak.
Well, that's one of the unfortunate things, and hopefully with the growing awareness of Tantra and sexuality and healing in this area, we can start to educate people at a younger and younger age so that they can become aware that it is natural and it's healthy and start taking the taboos away so that people start to have real sex education and start to understand what is happening inside of their bodies.
Okay. And I mean, obviously we could spend the show talking about that part of childhood, you know, situations and you know, what happens to us with adults. Moving on to the workshops, because I'm sure people out there are going to want to know what happens in a workshop.
Yes.
What does happen in your one-day workshops?
Okay, I run a one-day workshop called Unlimited Orgasmic Potential, which everybody loves the title. And the reason for Unlimited Orgasmic Potential is assisting people to recognise that the experience that they're looking for, the peak orgasmic experiences that they believe to be achievable through someone else or by finding their ideal mate or by wherever they're searching for it, all of that is actually available already inside of themselves. So we all have that ability. It's just that due to various levels of conditioning, it's shut down in people. So in the one-day workshop, we go through a variety of exercises, starting with exercises that people can do on their own, using breath and energy and movement. So we might do some dancing, we might lie down and encourage people, for women example, to cup underneath their breasts, fully clothed, but just cupping under their breasts to feel their own heart energy, because the breasts are the connection to the heart energy. And then we move on from the individual exercises to partner exercises. In the partner exercises, we look at ways in which people can become more real and honest in their communication with each other, so that people, for example, men often say to me, there's no women around. How do I meet women? And one of the things that men can start to do is recognise in every moment of every day there's a woman that he can be interacting with. And so I encourage men to be able to walk up to a woman in the street and say, I find you attractive, I would love to spend some time with you. And so that...
and then we do that.
But the thing that happens is women are actually flattered. If a man has the courage to walk up and say that to a woman, she will truly be flattered. She's not going to slap him around.
Have you heard any adverse stories?
No.
It's a great line.
So it's about, you know, encouraging people to be real and to communicate for them what is really happening. So we look at ways of communicating more honestly and being more real with each other. We also look at ways in which people can connect with each other through a hug. People often think that Tantra is all about having sex. And of course, Tantra is about much more than that. Tantra is a way of life. And even within the sexual realm, there are different ways of looking at it. So the sexual aspect can be broken down simply by starting with a hug. Where do you feel your sexual energy in the hug? And are you really allowing your energy to flow and to connect with the other person in a hug? Or are you holding something back? So we start there and then move on to have people maybe massaging each other on the face or the feet. Simple exercises where they can breathe and feel their sexual energy and use some of the bodywork techniques later on, which I've learnt from Nitiyama.
Okay. And one of the things I guess we need to make clear is there is no genital contact for starters in these workshops. They don't strip naked.
No.
Okay, so it's not about coming in and feeling embarrassed or belittled. What have been some of the comments when people have completed the workshop? What's opened up for them? What's been the outcome?
A lot of men find that they feel much more empowered afterwards. For them, it's an experience of being given permission to stand in their masculinity. So they often feel more energised and much more vital afterwards. And for women, women experience the softness in themselves and are able to move much more deeply into their feminine and have that inner experience of letting go. Because in our society, there's a tendency for women to be operating with masculine barriers in the world. And what they're really longing for is the space where they can surrender and let go. And so in the workshops, through some of the exercises, people are encouraged to drop into those spaces.
Okay, and for couples that have come to the workshop to work through intimacy issues, communication challenges, what's been the outcome for them?
I've seen couples in one day move from feeling like they're in different places with each other and unable to really connect, and then at the end of the day, they're able to say, I'm so glad that we came to this together. And they actually feel like they have found a common place to meet each other because they're given some simple tools that they can take home to work with, and on the day they drop inside and feel.
How rewarding is that for you?
It's great. I love it.
And of course, one of the questions that begs to be answered, how different is life for you now that you've discovered Tantra for you? And to be careful how we talk about this one, I suspect.
Totally different. In my own life, it's as though I've returned home to myself. So before, I was out there in the rest of the world searching, whereas nowadays I've found what I was looking for inside of myself. So much more energy, vitality, and passion and love for life. And also in my experiences with men now, I find myself more able to communicate and experience interacting with men without the attachments to what things should look like.
And how do you think men now find you in your communication? You know, obviously a very different woman.
Yes, and for some men, it's interesting because some men will come to me thinking that the tantric experience is going to be about casual and open sex, and other men will come to me and they'll be looking for a monogamous relationship. My experience around this is the most important thing for me is my own freedom and to let somebody else have their own freedom. So I'm not interested in casual sexual encounters with people. I'm also not looking for a one-on-one monogamous relationship. What I am interested in is interacting and relating with men in a way that adds something to my own life and also assists them to enrich their own life. So nobody moving away, I guess, from some of the traditional conditioning of society, but still having a level of commitment to each other's growth, so that in every encounter there's an opportunity to grow.
Okay, and one last question before we go to break. Do you see yourself at some time in the future being in a monogamous relationship?
At this point in time, it's not on the cards, but who knows?
We never know what the future holds. Martina, thank you, and we're back after the break.